Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We're back again with more Solasta, Crown of the Magister. This time, I wanted to talk through what I'm really hoping they're able to implement for the sequel. It seems like, more than likely, this game has made enough money where we can expect that we are going to get a sequel to it. I have completed my playthrough of the game, and so that frees me up to make some different type of videos regarding the game. So we are going to cover classes and crafting and the different vendors, things of that nature. But before we get into that, I wanted to look to the future and talk about what I hope they're really able to address the next go round. So first up for me, I would like to see more choices in the story, and specifically choices of real consequence. You get one, maybe two choices in the game that have some degree of consequence, but for the most part, the story feels like it's on the rails and that what you actually decide doesn't really matter. And I don't like that. I'm especially a big fan of games that have multiple endings, where the ending is a reflection of the things that you've done throughout the game. And I especially feel like a D&D game, which is really all about role playing and acting out these characters and your choices as a group actually mattering. I definitely feel like a D&D game should be going this route. So I understand that as a developer, you have to choose what you're going to put your focus in. And maybe they feel like if they had a game that had those kind of different branching paths, it will require more investment and take away from their ability to make combat amazing. And that combat is what they want to focus on. But if it's possible, I definitely would like to see the story in the next game go more down this route. Second thing that I want to see happen is our overhaul on how they handle the magical items and weapons that you're able to equip on your character. So first and foremost, there's a cap on how many you could put on a particular character. You could only have 3 magical items on them. And honestly, when I got into the game, all of my characters had missing slots. They were missing gloves or belts or things of that nature because I was never able to loot items that were appropriate for their particular build to put on them. And I didn't have enough money to be able to just buy these items outright in the store. And I completed all the quests. I got up to level 12. I did everything that was presented to me in the game. You know, we kind of had this discussion in my community when Pathfinder came out, because during the Pathfinder beta, there were a lot of items that were missing in the game. So consequently, you could finish the beta and have a bunch of slots missing on your character. And I complained about it then. And people said to me that, well, this is representative of an authentic D&D experience, that when you're playing tabletop D&D, you usually do not have enough money to get magical items across all of your slots on a particular character. So to limit it and say, well, you can only have, 2 or 3 items that are really useful is authentic for that tabletop experience. That may very well be true. I feel like it doesn't matter. Just like when you're translating books into movies and things of that nature, you have to decide what works and what doesn't. And from the standpoint of playing a video game, if you give me slots for rings, belts, and gloves, and then I get to the end of the game and I've done all the content and those slots are empty for multiple characters on my team, makes me feel like it's a bait and switch. Makes me feel like you're presenting these character sheets as if all this customization is possible, but in reality, when you're going through the game, it's not. And that's not a good experience from the standpoint of a player who does not play D&D on a regular basis. And I feel like the vast majority of the people who are playing this game probably haven't played year-long storylines of D&D. Number 3, the game provides you the opportunity to choose a background. And each of your team members is going to get a quest related to the background that they have chosen. I actually feel like this is really, really cool. It's the closest this game gets to having party member quests. And I would like to see this expanded upon. If each background, to my knowledge, only gets one quest, since it's the closest thing we get to a quest that's specifically for your party member, I would like to see 2 or 3 of these quests that we can complete throughout the game, so we get something similar to a party member quest line that you would have in a more standard game where the party member is not under your complete control. Number 4, I would like to see them expand the list of races that are available. I feel like the list of classes is fantastic, and I know there's all sorts of crazy classes they could add, but I'm very happy with the list. I feel like there's a lot of flexibility and you could do pretty much whatever you want. But I would love to see more of the races that we're used to seeing in D&D. Specifically for me, not being able to be a tiefling is a pretty big deal. Whether it's tabletop or in game format, I always love playing tieflings, and not having them is definitely a glaring omission from my standpoint. And I've definitely seen a lot of people bring up gnomes and that they feel like they should be in the game. So I think there's definitely room for them to expand the list of races and make people feel even more connected to these characters that we're creating. And in that same vein, I do feel like there should be some reactivity in the world to the race that you're playing as. Playing an orc who meets another orc, but them not feeling any kinship or not really saying anything to each other that acknowledges, oh, you are an orc, is weird. It takes away to some degree from the role-playing experience. So I would like to see them expand the list of races and add some degree of reactivity in the world for the type of race that you're playing. And then finally, and I guess this is to some degree more focused on story, but I would like to see a singular villain that we're focusing on, that we get to know, and that we're ultimately supposed to fight against. And I don't feel like we get that in the game. There is a god that is mentioned multiple times, but it never really feels like you're directly going to enter into some sort of conflict with this particular being. So basically, you're fighting against an event and maybe against a race. But I really, really prefer when a game has a singular compelling or multiple compelling villains that you're trying to work towards being able to stop. And I would love to see them implement something like this in the story for the next game. So those are my thoughts. Those are the things that I would really, really love to see in the sequel. Like I said before, I had a great time with the game. I think the combat is fantastic. The character creation system is absolutely fabulous. And despite the shortcomings in the story and the writing, I'm actually very, very much so willing to dive right back into this game. And honestly, we might even play it on the channel. But these are some things that I definitely felt like they needed to improve upon, and that I hope to see in the sequel for the game. Let me know down in the comments what are the things you would like to see most in the sequel, and if you disagreed with anything I have on the list. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like down below, share this content, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.